Hey guys, and welcome to another Boneyards YouTube video. And it's been forever since I've been here. And about a year ago, I talked about revamping this channel. It might have actually been a little longer than that, but I did, and I talked about doing something different. So, for those of you that are new, and those of you that have been here, you will know if you go through my channel, I come through and come from Mortal Kombat Mobile. That was the basis of all my views. That was the reason people subscribed. I started to slowly play other games when it came to console, mostly Mortal Kombat. So that was my channel. I was a Mortal Kombat, fanatic to Mortal Kombat channel, hence the name's Boneyards. Was born through Parkway Drive in Mortal Kombat. And that is where my channel was. And then it got to the point where you're logging on YouTube every day, you're logging on Twitter, and people are telling you shouldn't spend money on this mobile game, or you should do this, you should do that differently. And there's always criticism on a game where there wasn't really, that I felt, room for criticism and negativity. So the console games, well, you're playing on too easy, you need to increase your skill. And it's, I'd be nice, I'd be like, hey, I'm not worried about skill, I'm here to play, do commentary over some of these videos. And if you can't make it through, as some people said, a couple of minutes, 7 minutes, whatever, why should I care? Well, that shouldn't be my problem. I don't know. I guess if I'm trying to make a bunch of money off this, I'm trying to make a career off that's one thing. I'm not really. This is a channel that I don't want filled with a bunch of ads. It's a channel that I want honesty for the people, and just to see someone game and have fun. Now I've switched over to reviews, so that's how I got here. And I figure the negativity I could take from this, whether it's probably going to be yap too much, because I do, or it's you should do more, play the game live and get some thoughts, make a script. I'm new at this review thing. All I know is I've seen IGN and a couple of other big time reviewers. So like IGN with this game, they said they basically crapped on this game for a lot of the time of the video, most of it. And then at the end of the video, they said, well, we'll give it a 7 out of 10. We highly recommend it. And I'm like, oh, but you highly recommend what? Everything you just crapped all over? So it was a big shock to me. It's like, how do you even get a review out like that? It was just it was stupid to me, in my opinion. And a lot of other people, like when Fallout 76 come out, had a reason to be upset. But a lot of people got on YouTube and just clickbait reviews. Clickbait reviews after clickbait reviews. And anybody that played Fallout 4 at the beginning, like I did, had a bunch of bugs, got patched, had fun with that game. All that Fallout 76 is now that it's started the same way. And now what it is these days is Fallout 4 online with your buddies. So you can have fun with that game. It took time, shouldn't have come out that way, I get it. But it's not the worst game in the world, as some people called it. And some people still think you got to call it the worst game in the world because it's bandwagon fans that mindlessly follow their favorite reviewers. And it's not their fault, it's the reviewers that get in there and tell them this is how to think, this is the way you should think, this is the way things have to pretty much be, or you're lame. And that's just not a good, honest review, in my opinion. And what I kind of want to do with my reviews is assess the game as play it, record myself playing it live, and then go back and give an actual final review, which this will be different because I've already have several hours of footage put into this game. So what I'm going to do is go over some of my YouTube videos I've already put up from when I very first time I ever played this game, before patches fixed certain things that may be fixed by the time I get this out. So forgive me if the things I've complained about or whatever are fixed. And then at the end of assessing those situations and kind of showing, okay, this is what I did, this is what I was trying to do, and this is where I ended up, I'll give the total review of the game, and then I'll be done, which can make for a lengthy review. I'm hoping to keep it under 20 minutes, but it could go as far as 40. It depends on my liking for the game, how many things I want to show. So I don't want to do a major introduction, trying to keep under 5 minutes, and I'm getting right up on that 5-minute mark. So with all that said, let's jump into the review of the World War I game, Isonzo. So one of the great things to point out about this game right away is the fact that You can do offline mode, custom match, and as long as you don't mess with the advanced match options, you can still level up. Or, as you can see, there is a join game option. It selects a random map, and that's where you get to join from and go from there, which is what essentially I do for my very first match ever in the game. Now, getting a feel for this right off the bat, you know, it's giving me the hints. I'm just kind of getting a feel for the rifle, and you first see the game here. You'll notice right away you look like you're playing something on an engine on ultra settings that was in 2009. Of course, it looks maybe 10, maybe 11. Of course, on these videos, or this video in particular, when I'm reviewing over my own footage I've already recorded that was from a stream, it's not going to be the greatest quality. But this is just essentially first time running through no man's land in areas like that with the team, and that's kind of what happens when you're on attack. That's what happens in general when you run through no man's land on this game. So that's something I found, and I just wanted to show early and kind of compliment this game on and not focus too much on it, is don't run into no man's land, because if you do, you're going down. I mean, most definitely you're going down. So I appreciate the realistic approach to that. A lot of people want to compare this game to Battlefield and Call of Duty, but once you actually get into it, you're running around, you're playing. See, I have to adjust settings here is what I've started to do on my sensitivity and stuff. You start getting a feel for a game once you get it right. Even when you get it right, you're still not going to get that run and gun feel of any of those two games. This game does stand alone. As you play it, you begin to realize that, and it's one of the things I like about it. And as we get further on, you will see more. Further into this game, I discover artillery you can strike the enemy with, and a machine gun, as I'm looking at right now. But you get to use a launcher, and it's great for being able to sit back behind enemy lines, you know, and provide support if I had a squad. In this case, I didn't, of course, playing AI. But once I found the sweet spot playing AI, it's a great spot for being able to just get kills. And that might be your goal if you're playing against the AI. And for me, that is. The AI is something where I take a step back from the craziness of multiplayer and playing intense environments with people who take it way too serious. So, you know, I went into the AI games and I found out how difficult the AI was. So that was a shocker. I was expecting the love child of Metal Gear Solid's European Extreme and old Call of Duty veterans' love child to just pop out and be this massive and can't walk around the map, not step around the corner without getting shot situation. That ended up happening, so I had to find ways to work around that. And this is one of the ways. You know, it's great for racking up kills because your bots are just kind of gonna run to objectives. They're gonna try to run to, say, something like the spawn point in front of you and destroy it. You know, if it's the enemy, that is, or destroy equipment, machine guns, stuff like that. So it's good to get use out of them when they're available. You just usually tap the button once. Not always, but once, and the enemy will back themselves off of it, and you can continue to use it, you know, whether it be the machine gun, launcher, whatever it might be, you know, they'll back up off of it eventually. I've had some struggles with that, but they will. Mounting the machine gun is also helpful. This particular map, there's one on the right, one on the left. You could have two people mounted on the machine guns, someone maybe as an officer who calls it artillery, and then you two can move in, and as they call in the artillery strike, they get with you, you two move in, and then you can just have the two people on machine gun shooting, and this is one of them. And it's, again, if you're just by yourself in AI, it's a great way to rack up kills. I think this is my first match I ever had, and I ended up with something kills in this match alone, just because of mounting artillery launchers and machine guns. So it was a great way to level up. The next machine gun I'll go ahead and show you, like I said, is over on the left side. And on the left side, you know, you can take out in the same round in the same area, and then more people that you can't see. Of course, I focused on the same area. Again, by myself, playing AI. I'm just trying to get XP here, because I realize you can play bots and get XP, because I don't like playing with people I don't know, and I only have one friend that plays this game, and we've only won 2 attacks against bots, so we're not quite ready together to go to multiplayer. I definitely would like to go into multiplayer matches, but I don't want to join someone's squad. I don't have a microphone that I actually can talk to people with. This is a stand on the table, do a podcast type of microphone. So this is not something, you know, you take into a video game. Like, I have to have my sound turned all the way down right now as I watch these videos and go over this footage. So I don't have anyone to talk to. I stick to playing bots. So strictly this review and this kind of assessment of watching my own footage is mainly about playing against the bots. Now, playing with machine guns, you actually get in the game that you have to go through some challenges to accomplish getting these 2 machine guns. Obviously, one for the Hungarian side and one for the Italy side. The Madston is what you see here. It's a good gun, but there's a lot of issues with the bipod. As you'll see, if I was laying flat on the ground, it was fine. But here, that bipod just seems to want to mount and unmount by itself. And every time it does that, if you're in the middle of shooting, it will completely stop to readjust. And I think you kind of get an example of that coming up here, if I remember correctly. If it would just stay mounted, there's a guy that runs up. Could have taken him out, right? It stopped shooting. Again, go to move. It flipped the bipod. I could have taken those 2 guys out if I could have just moved with it mounted, because there was no real reason for it to move back and forth right there, but that big of an area. And it struggles in a lot of areas where it should mount and where it shouldn't mount, and that is a big issue for me with the machine gun. And again, this is something that might be fixed by the time I get this out, but the machine gun has an issue. Mounting and unmounting and doing it automatically is really a pain. I think you should have that option. This is when I first ever fired a shot from this thing, actually. You see how bad the recoil is. Like, there's 2 shots and it goes crazy. So it's something I would like to see come down to. Like, I get the realistic feel you're trying to get, but you also are putting dots over people's heads to show, you know, where your teammates are at. So why can't we reduce the recoil a little bit? I mean, we're obviously not going for total realism with the dots. So you can see all those dots. Again, this is a place where that bipod didn't mount. Now it's trying to mount as I pulled away, and now it's mounting. So it's a little touchy. Wish there was an option, or at least patched, and it may have again by now, patched so that it wasn't that bad, because that is pretty bad. I mean, there's areas in the game you'll see where I spawn and can't move, but that is a bigger deal to me, because you can just die and redeploy if you spawn somewhere and you can't move. But this is a major mechanic of the game that has to deal with the machine guns, and I love this game, don't get me wrong. I'm not leading towards a bad review here. They're great. Both of them are great guns, and I'll show you exactly where the second machine gun can help you win attack on one of the, what I just call it the first map, because I don't try to say the name because I'm just going to butcher it. It's the first map that if you go to custom matches, it's the first map that's going to set you on, and I won attack there, so I'll show you some of what you can do with one of these machine guns that's really helpful. Going up to this particular spot on this map, and in this particular map you only have to take 2 objectives. So to take the first one, it's good to have this machine gun because you can use it to fire at this hill. This is where they'll spawn a lot, and they'll come running down this hill, so you can use this machine gun and mount it if you don't have any mounting problems. I did a couple of times, but I found a spot that was perfect. You take a breath and you just light it up. Again, there it didn't mount. You see? I mean, it's really a big issue in the game as far as, well, wow, you would think that's the spot that it mounts. Here it's trying to mount where it's completely off the rocks, and now it's stable versus where it was completely on the rocks before, obviously, and then look how stable that is. So, but the objective that I did want to show here to is to fire with this machine gun constantly at those guys as they come down, and your guys will capture A. Then once you capture A, you can redeploy as an officer and go to the call-ins. Call in some artillery strikes, which I do believe needs a wider range as far as their damage, but just show a few more shots here, and then I'll get to exactly what you can do as an officer on the same map to help you win attack. Though this is more of assessment and review, I guess I can go ahead and add that in there. It does show what the value of playing as an officer is and how fun it can be. So as an officer, you want to take your flares and you want to put them on the area of the map. You'll see down your mini map at the bottom left. You also can make it bigger by pressing the map button M on the keyboard. But you want to put those, and you want to redeploy yourself too. You want to deploy multiple of those, because you want to be able to put the strikes in the exact right spot. And if you do that on, say, such this map, you can win it pretty easy. So as you can see, I already redeployed. That was actually a redeployment, and I placed some more of those. So you want to do the bomber squadron with planes to get aircraft kills, and which you'll need at some point to get the rifle. And then I was actually trying to move this one up further for whatever it was, it wouldn't move, and point it back the other way to get guys that were respawning. So I just, put it right there. And the mustard gas, I just put it right there too. But it ended up being the perfect spot. I thought the mustard gas needed to go a little bit further back, but that ended up being perfect. It catches everyone as they spawn. The artillery strikes actually didn't hit anyone. And those are the ones I need most, because I had, as you can see over here on the right, the kill-ins using aviation call-ins. Those kills went up, but I don't think I get a single artillery here, but I get plenty through mustard gas. And that's a challenge at some point too, eventually, that you'll need. I had already completed it at this point. And as they respawn, they just hit this mustard gas over and over and over again. So this kind of shows, I'm showing this really because to go over every class is going to take a lot of time with the way I yap. And this will go over at least one of the classes and can show you how each one of them are unique and help you if you're playing by yourself or you're helping one of friends and a squad be valuable to your team. And I think that this right here shows how valuable an officer can be, especially if you've ever tried to take this map over, even with friends in the AI mode. Just go, if you do play this game, go give it a try by yourself to take this over without being an officer, and see how big and important being an officer in this game now becomes. I mean, when this was over, because all those mustard gas kills was going on, and my team was able to actually stay on A, and we're shooting these guys, like, it was an adrenaline rush. Against AI, my heart was beating like you're playing Call of Duty, but for a better reason, a better adrenaline rush. You're not getting an adrenaline rush because some guy that's hacking the game keeps killing you, and you're like, I might finally get him this time, and it's getting your heart rate up, or your heart rate's getting up just because you're getting mad in general. I mean, it's a toxic environment on a game like that, versus this is, you figured out you're playing a class that's valuable to your team, and this is how it's valuable to your team. So much so that you've done this for the last 20 hours and haven't been able to figure it out. You got a friend to help you for 5 hours and couldn't figure it out. And then boom, you finally figure it out 25 hours later. I jumped out of my seat at this point screaming, hollering at the enemy, at the Hungarian. So, it was a great feeling, even for playing against bots. I have to give that moment definitely a 10 out of 10 just for that moment. It was a lot of hassle to learn how to do that, but it does show that the classes mean something in this game, and that is important. If you're going to have those classes, each one can benefit you in an important role, not just being an officer. That's just the one I particular happen to show, but each one of those classes can benefit you. The grabbing of the machine gun, the reason I showed that, because it can benefit you. The grabbing of the launcher on the ground, I grabbed that because it can benefit you in this game and your squad. Even though I'm not playing a multiplayer, those things do benefit. They are there. They're just not mounted there because it's realistic and they were mounted in World War I. They serve a purpose where they sit. where they're mounted in particularly, where the AI will go and mount them. And that is important in a game for them to, be there, and they should be there. Bugs are surprisingly far and few in between. I mentioned the spawning in one spot and not being able to get out, but when I originally did this, I was unaware that you could just simply back out by just redeploying. Simple enough, and you're unstuck. You're no longer stuck, right? So I didn't know this at first, but it is one of the issues in the game. I think one of the issues I had here on this map in particular, on all of them, but more so on this map, was not getting killed for walking in no man's land. That's just what you get. But it was a lot of white flashing. There's a lot of white flashing on a lot of these levels, and then of course that could be a graphical issue that I set up. Then there's getting stuck, and again, simply I forget I could just redeploy. So this is not a big one, but the guys, if you saw that, they're jumping through the window. Some are jumping through the window and teleporting to the second floor. There's kind of a bug going on with that. Just in general, every time someone hops through a window, they kind of get to a certain point, then teleport to wherever I think they were supposed to land, and that can affect shooting them. I actually had some fun with this glitch, I guess, getting stuck. I guess that's why I chose to show this particular one, because I was able to sit here and practice on my hip fire. That's what the word I was looking for. So practice on my hip fire aiming a little bit while I was sitting here stuck getting mad at this chair.
What is this Mickey Mouse shit?
But no, this is all fun. I mean, every game is going to have a little bit of bugs, and if we're talking about bipods, AI being cruel at times, which is unfortunate because you want to kind of get away from the AI being brutal, but at the same time they got predictable over time, so that complaint wears out. So really, when you look down to it, if you want to talk about just the bugs, it's jumping through the windows, the spawning in areas you can't move, it's the machine guns bipod, and that's really the only things that I really could come up with that gave me issues. Now, there's been a couple of hot fixes, and I've never spawned in another area, so that I couldn't move from. So I guess you can eliminate that. The bipod apparently got fixed, but I have not played since it has with a machine gun. So that one I can't say for sure. So I'm going to leave that one in there because this is a review of the game in its initial state, because all these videos, except for that officer round, were pretty much my first hours into this game, and on the first day that it came out. So that's kind of what I'm basing off of. So the game comes out, and this is what you get. You get a couple places you get stuck at spawn points. Again, jumping through windows, I don't know if that's been addressed, but that was there. There also was a bug where you would get stuck, wouldn't be able to shoot at all, but everyone was just moving around, kind of watching each other. I posted those on Twitter. If you go to my Twitter, they're pretty funny. I cannot post them here because they have music in them that would get copyright struck real quick. So, because I was listening to the new Mars Volta album at the time I was playing the game when I noticed those. But once that glitch happens, you can walk around the entire map, even areas you're not supposed to, eventually falling off to way down under the map. So, just a few bugs. Every game is expected to have them these days when they come out, but overall, really good condition the game come out in, and really fun. So I guess it's time for the overall. And overall, I give the game 9 out of 10. And the only reason I don't give it 10 out of 10 is that the perfect game is going to start without any glitches. With this being an indie game, you kind of have to expect them. So maybe I could eliminate that from the score, but it still gets a 9.5 out of 10, even if you take that out, which I'm not going to. I'm leaving that in there because, any game that comes out with bugs, it just bothers me at this point. So 9 out of 10. And that second reason being the graphics, which I get that it's an indie game, but there's a lot of indie games out there that come out using the Unreal Engine and other engines that look incredible in spots while horrible in others. So, you know, the fact that some parts of this feels like a game from 2009, 10, 11-ish on ultra settings, that does affect things. If it wasn't for those two things, if the bugs wouldn't have been there, in the state this game will eventually be in with its DLC content, it will easily be 10 out of 10 because, you know, I think the graphics, they'll grow on me. That's just me personally. I think right now maybe they're not. They hurt my eyes a little bit, but I think that it is something that's going to grow on me and I will get over the look of the game. I just think it takes some DLC. I think it takes a map with some snow, because snow has a way. Like, I've played Tanningberg for about 45 minutes because I want to play it and go back and review it, do a proper review, you know, not watch my own footage and try to give a reaction over it. I want to do a proper review, no introduction, just proper 10-minute review, go over the fundamentals and get better at this. And I want it to be Tanningberg, and it's got snow in it, and for some reason I just thought that game looked so much better. So what we need is a map with snow, and I think 10 out of 10 I can do a second review once everything, after a year, go back and say, you know, start doing reviews on games that, say, like a Fallout 76, come out messed up, and then you go back a year or two later when they've patched everything, added all this DLC, and review it again. It deserves a second review, and I think I will do that with video games. If this launches off, it goes somewhere. As of right now, 9 out of 10. I enjoy the game everywhere. Can't think of somewhere I really don't. Oh, nobody enjoys bugs or graphics that's not up to par for them. But just gameplay-wise, it's great. A lot of people say Battlefield. I really think you got to try that out for yourself. Just looking at it, you can easily say Battlefield. But when you're just trying it out and playing it, I think you can honestly know that this game has a feel of its own, and that's very important. Like I said, the classes feel important. They feel like they each hold their own meaning once you've used them long enough. And again, this is early footage. All of this is early footage, so I had not been through all the classes yet, but now that I actually have, I know the importance of them, and they do feel important. While some people disagree with that in their reviews, I feel this game stands alone as far as if you want to compare it with Battlefield or Call of Duty, especially something way different than Call of Duty. Maybe the game modes or the actual game mode you're playing is something that's, this has been on Battlefield for years. Yeah, sure, at this point we've come up with all the game modes we're going to come up with. It's really about who presents the most proper game play for those game modes, and I think this is one game that does it very well. As in, also time period wise, we've seen so many World War II games, World War I games now are coming out, and it's who does it right, who's putting out that best product. And I think, minus the times the graphics look old, I think this is some of the best, if not the best, you're going to find right now, at least that I've played. So if you watch this and you think you want to give it a try, I highly recommend it. But again, my channel is about just giving my assessment, my review, not whether I highly recommend it or you should buy it, you need to play it. It's just what I felt when I played it, and what I felt was it stood on its own, and I give it a 9 out of 10. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and let me know what you think. If this is a direction that you would like me to continue to go in, reviewing games, because it's something I would like to do, and like to give you honesty as much as possible. With that said, Boneyard signing off. I will see you next time.